Alrighty, welcome back to episode 26 of Book Nook Brews. And this week we are going to cover chapters 8 through 15 of Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. And I'm super excited to talk about this set of chapters.
Yes, as am I.
I am super excited. No brews because now your girl is sick
Yep.
and is taking medicine.
Yep.
So no alcohol
Yep.
and no coffee at the moment since it's midday and I've been drinking tea
Yep.
to kind of get me by. So my brew in spirit. Well, actually, no, my bad. Yeah, we had coffee earlier today
We did. Yes.
because we went to a comic/coffee shop here in our area, and I had a campfire cold brew, which is oddly one of the better cold brews I've ever had, and it was sweet. Took me a bit to get the taste because I'm still sick, but it slapped. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And then I had a mocha frap, which was very good as well. So.
And they presented it like both drinks very nicely. Me with like some toasted marshmallows and you
an Oreo at the top and stuff.
it was very cute.
Yeah.
So 10 out of 10.
All right. I guess we just jump into the recap. And get that out of the way. Chapter 8. Dr. Grace has a flashback where Dr. Loken points out a flaw in the Hail Mary. Is it Loken or Locken? It's double K.
I think I pronounced it Locken.
Locken, okay. Dr. Locken doesn't think that the lab will work well under zero gravity conditions, so he suggests placing the laboratory inside a centrifuge. Strat decides to let Dr. Locken design the ship. After remembering this, Dr. Grace turns on the centrifuge function of the ship, and the ship splits in half and starts spinning. Dr. Grace then decides to examine the cylinder and finds that it is made up of xenon, which is odd because it's a non-reactive noble gas. The cylinder contains a model of the solar system where Tau Ceti is, and it tells Dr. Grace that the aliens are from the 40 Eridani system, and that they are also affected by astrophage. So they also wanted to study Tau Ceti. Dr. Grace then adds the sun to the model and sends it back to the Blip-A. Blip-A then sends the cylinder back with a model of the ships and a tunnel between them, indicating that the aliens want to meet him. Chapter 9. Dr. Grace sends Blip-A a piece of his ship so that they would know what material his ship is made of so they can create a tunnel between both ships. Dr. Grace has a flashback from when they were testing the spin drive. The spin drive uses astrophage as fuel, but when the astrophage would die, it would get cleaned up and replaced with more astrophage. In addition, there are 1,009 of these spin drives. Blip-A then attaches to the Hail Mary, and Dr. Grace is able to go through the tunnel where he sees a wall with hexagons of different colors. Someone then knocks on the clear hexagon that Dr. Grace is looking into. Chapter 10. As Dr. Grace peers through the clear hexagon, he sees a claw that resembles a rock. The claw then instructs Dr. Grace to go back to his ship, and based off of this observation, he decides to call the alien Rocky. Rocky makes sounds that Grace can hear, so that's how he is able to communicate. Rocky leaves a gift for Dr. Grace, and it is a set of spheres to indicate that he has ammonia in his atmosphere, and seems to understand that Grace has oxygen on his. The chapter ends with Rocky and Dr. Grace teaching each other how they tell time. Chapter 11. The chapter starts with Rocky making an airlock for Dr. Grace while he was asleep. Instead of having hexagons that are different colors, there is one big wall that is completely transparent. They are also able to transfer things back and forth between them through this wall. While trying to teach Rocky how to use the metric system to measure different things, Dr. Grace finds that Rocky is not capable of seeing directly. He is able to perceive what is going on around him by using sound. Later on in the chapter, Dr. Grace has a flashback where Strat is being sued for copying every software and every single book and literary work that is copyright. Strat makes the case that these astronauts going on board the Hail Mary are going to need access to these materials, and she shows the judge a pardon from the President of the United States. Dr. Grace then figures out a way that he can start communicating with Rocky, but he has to wait until the next day to try it out because Rocky is not in the airlock tunnel. Chapter 12. Dr. Grace wakes up from his slumber to a slight tapping noise. He finds that it is Rocky that has woken him up because he overslept 2 hours. Dr. Grace then tries out a method of communication with Rocky by recording the frequencies of the sounds that he makes and using them to create a dictionary for himself so he can be able to translate them. Through this, Dr. Grace finds that Rocky has a photographic memory and that he is exceptionally good at math. Rocky confirms that the astrophage has had a detrimental effect on his star as well. Dr. Grace also finds that Rocky is the only Iridian on his ship and that his crew used to consist of 23 Iridians. Towards the end of the chapter, Rocky and Dr. Grace continue to work on communicating with each other, and Dr. Grace finds that Iridians watch each other sleep. Therefore, Rocky watches Dr. Grace as he sleeps. Chapter 13. The chapter starts with Dr. Grace having a flashback about him and Strat visiting Dr. Robert Riddle in prison. They are visiting him because he came up with the idea to make black panels, which in his case were used to turn sunlight into energy but can be used to mass-produce astrophage for Project Hail Mary. Therefore, he joins the teams of engineers that are working on the Hail Mary. Dr. Grace then finds that Rocky is on the same mission as he is to find why Tau Ceti is not being affected by astrophage like the respective stars have been. Rocky tells Dr. Grace that he does not understand why he was the only one to survive from his crewmates, and based off of the description that Rocky gives on how they died, Dr. Grace comes to the conclusion that they died from radiation sickness. Dr. Grace then has a flashback where he is talking to Dr. Locken, and she is telling him that astrophage is going to be used on the ship to provide radiation protection. Chapter 14. A flashback of Strat talking. The chapter begins with a flashback of Strat talking to a climatologist named Dr. Francois Leclerc. He tells Strat that in 19 years the world population will be cut in half because of the effects of astrophage. Strat is not satisfied with his answers, so she has Dr. Leclerc look for a solution to extend the life expectancy to 27 years, because that's how long it will take the Hail Mary to bring back data. Dr. Grace finds out that Erid, the planet where Rocky is from, has 100% protection from radiation, but the Iridians didn't know it existed. Dr. Grace explains to Rocky that since he was surrounded by astrophage, he did not experience radiation poisoning like his crewmates, so that's how he was able to survive. Dr. Grace and Rocky talk about how similar Iridian science is and human science is, and Rocky mentions that if they weren't similar, they would have never met and known about each other. Dr. Grace brings up the panspermia theory that he argued with Dr. Locken about how Earth might have had the ancestor that gave rise to astrophage, and that the planet Erid might have also had the same organism, which is why both planets were affected by astrophage. Dr. Grace has a flashback where he remembers the time when they set off fusion bombs in order to release methane gas into the atmosphere in order to keep Earth warm. and buy more time for Project Hail Mary. Dr. Grace starts learning about Rocky's biology and finds that his blood is made of mercury and that when he sleeps, he's paralyzed. So that's why they look at each other when they sleep. The chapter ends with Rocky making a sort of suit so that he can go into Dr. Grace's ship. Chapter 15. The chapter starts with Rocky entering the Hail Mary in his newly made suit. He then decides that he wants to move into Dr. Grace's ship because with Rocky's ship attached to the Hail Mary, it can't spin, and none of the lab equipment can function. Dr. Grace has a flashback where he remembers meeting Dr. Lamai, and she explains how the fully automated robot that will take care of patients in a coma aboard the Hail Mary works. In the flashback, Strat and Dr. Grace are tested for the coma-resistant gene. Rocky then starts moving the stuff from his ship onto the Hail Mary. While doing this, Dr. Grace finds out that Rocky has been alive for 291 years, and that the average Iridian can live up to 689 years. He also finds out that Rocky has been in space for 46 years. And that is the end of our recap.
I love Rocky so much.
Yes, we stand Rocky.
I love Rocky so much. He's so cute.
Yeah, that is not what I was expecting. I know we touched on it last episode.
Yes.
That I was like praying to everything that it wasn't your typical alien thing.
Green.
And this satisfied it. At first, when I was first reading the description, where it was like describing it as spider and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, so they're gonna do the basic like the alien in Alien Romulus, where it's like this black thing that's kind of like spider with claw, whatever. But then as it further went into it, and then we looked up a picture of like fan art and stuff to kind of get a better idea, I was like, okay, all right. And then it communicates as like similar to like WALL-E.
Yeah, and
with the whistle and all that.
That's why I had you look it up, because I was not about to risk potentially seeing a spider. And I don't know if I mentioned this already on the podcast, but your girl has a really bad case of arachnophobia.
Yeah. Like
even the quote unquote cute little animated or cartoonish spiders scare me. Like the emoji on the Android freaks me out. I don't like it. Yeah. Like that's how sensitive I am. So when I saw that he was comparing it to a spider, I was like, eee. But then I kept on looking at the description. It's like he only has 5 legs. He's like this odd little thing. Has no eyes.
Has a shirt and everything.
Yeah, that's so cute. Oh my God. That was the cutest little thing ever.
Yeah. And then just how he starts like mimicking Grace and the point up.
The pointer finger.
Yeah. And then the little jazz hands to say yes. Yeah.
That is the only way I will communicate with you right now. Just hands. I was waiting for you to finish this, so I'm gonna like, just hands. Yeah. It's crazy how they're so different yet similar in the points that they're at with both science and what they're dealing with. Yeah. And you touched on it in the recap, where Rocky had mentioned to Dr. Grace that it's like, yeah, if you were at a different point in, if your civilization was at a different point, you guys would have died. If we were at a different point in our civilization, we both would have died as well. Yeah. And like, I think Dr. Grace has said, like, if they were in the Stone Age dealing with astrophage, they would have died. Yeah. But they both have some sort of capacity of getting there, which, by the way, poor Rocky having no one in his crew because they died of radiation. Like, oh.
And then for Dr. Grace to kind of tell him, was like, dude, you guys had the solution there, but you guys had it all stored in one place, which is where he was at, and that's why he's alive. But for them to have the protection right then and there, but not know about it, is kind of heartbreaking. But
I know. Yeah. And one thing too got me thinking is So Rocky is now in Dr. Grace's ship.
Yeah, he moved in.
his little roommate.
Yeah.
But my question is, when they figure out hopefully how to save both of their planets,
Yeah.
how is Rocky going to get back to his planet? Because he abandoned his ship. His ship is no longer...
Yeah, but I'm assuming he's going to take Dr. Grace's ship. Like, I'm assuming the whole plan is for Dr. Grace to kind of help him do that. I mean, it said it in the book, too. Grace isn't going to tell him why.
Or how long he has to live.
Not how long he has to live, but how... What was it? What were they talking about? I think he asked him something about the radiation.
Yeah.
Something about that. And he's like, it's not important. And he gives him like a bullshit half and half. Oh, yeah, because he was going to build him an astrophage like room too, like how he kind of built for himself. But Dr. Grace was like, no, I don't need it. And he's like, why? But he basically was going to tell him, because I'm not living, I'm not making it out of this, I'm not going back. So I think at some point he's not going to go back to Earth. So he's probably going to try and help Rocky get back to his planet. Like at that point, he's probably just going to be like, oh yeah, I'll help you make a stop in your planet or whatever. But he knows he's going to get him back, and that's pretty much it. But
I guess then, because they're essentially, now we're understanding that there's 3 solar systems, right?
Yeah.
The Sol solar system, the Tau Ceti, and then the Arid one, which is where
yes.
Rocky's
Well,
from.
those are all planets, but yeah.
But they're in different solar systems.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I guess my thing is, they both have to save each other's solar system.
Mm-hmm.
How is... Because one way or another, Dr. Grace has to get to his solar system to get that fixed. Or figure out the solution to astrophage, no?
Does he, though?
Well,
I thought it was just Data coming back. Because he's not supposed to be coming back. It's a one-way trip. I think he's just sending Data back.
Interesting. Okay.
Because the whole point of the trip was they knew they weren't coming back. And, like, he knows now that he's not going back either. So they're just supposed to be sending Data back. And the data from the flashback said it was going to take 27 years to go back. Like, that's when the solution is supposed to be going back to Earth.
Got it. Okay.
So I don't think he's going back, but maybe he enters the solar system again. But I don't even think that's how that's going to work. I think it's just Data going back, but I'm not sure.
It's crazy. And we're not really going to find out until, like, now I think the point of this set of chapters was just, 1, introducing Rocky.
Yeah.
2, them figuring out how to communicate with each other, which is the cutest thing.
Yeah.
I love it so much. And I'm assuming part 3 that we're going to get into for next week is going to be figuring out the solution to astrophage, how to tackle that issue in both of their systems.
Yeah. I do have an issue with how they communicate.
Okay.
Or at least how they learned. Like, again, at some point, because we're reading it in English now, right? But that's because Dr. Grace understands it. Because they were like, okay, one word by word, they were like, this means yes. What is that in your language? And he makes a little noise, right? And then he writes it down. But how did he go from not knowing what all those meant to, okay, now you can make a full sentence of sounds and I know exactly what you're saying, like that quickly? I understand maybe he could eventually get to that point, but that quickly is where I'm like, that kind of, yeah. But that's where it kind of took me out a bit, because it was like,
well, don't you remember when they were like, no, yes, no?
Yeah. And that's 2 words. How does he know this whole sentence of speech now? And it's like, yeah, he mentioned in there they took the time to describe each other's vocab and all that stuff. But now, he's carrying him around and stuff like that, and he's moving in. And now they're talking full sentences to each other. How did he get it that quick? To where because I'm imagining it's just like whistles, right? Or like they describe them as like kind of like whale sounds and stuff like that. How does Grace immediately know what sound means what? You
like
can
the
only
frequencies and everything.
You can only make so many noises, right? Like it's like how is there's 26 different noises that he has to make out for every individual letter. But then he has to know thousands of other noises for the different words of all those letters put together. So how did he figure all that out in so little time?
You're forgetting the magic of fiction.
Yeah. Yeah. But at first I was confused. Like I had to go back and reread, and I had to search something too, because I was like, did I miss something, or is there like a computer attached now and it's kind of like reading out the noises and stuff like that? But
that is what he's using, a computer.
Yeah, to find out like what each sound, what sound the word means and stuff like that. And then he notates that word. But then he is supposed to be memorizing what the sound is, I think. I don't know, unless I misunderstood that part.
I think I understood it as like the computer is talking back, essentially, like making the response.
Okay, then if that's the case, then sure, yeah. But that would be annoying then for Grace to keep looking at the computer every time. But I mean, that makes more sense than him memorizing the sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for it to be a whole other species and stuff like that, for them to not even know, like he didn't even know what a laptop was, and he's like, yeah, this we don't have. Like when he was describing why he's like, why are you moving in when your spaceship is probably more advanced? He's like, actually, no, not really. We don't have half of this crap you got here. And he was like, well, what's the one thing that you do need? And it was that Xenonite, something like that. And then he's like, that's really the only thing I need. And then he starts bringing all this other bunch of stuff. And he's like, dude, you're bringing more than his ex-girlfriend
who moved in with him.
Yeah, he's like, you're bringing more crap than that. And he's like, well, all this is to make Xenonite. He's like, everything else in the ship is useless. He's like, I really thought you would have been more advanced. He's like, nope. Brocky basically said, no, we don't even have this fucking thing. And he's pointing at the laptop and shit.
He's like, no, we're very smart, but I don't even know how we got here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, we made this ship in like 5 seconds, and then we had to come over here, and that's why everybody died. So,
that's so sad that he's been in space for 49 years, and I had 49 or maybe less sleeps alone.
Yeah,
that is so sad.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that's also why he tried to make contact with Grace as soon as possible, because he was also probably pretty lonely. And then he finds out that Grace sleeps alone too, and now they're both like, all right, now we're cool with each other. Let's solve this shit out.
Yeah.
And let's get back. But little does he know that Grace is probably not
gonna make it.
But who knows? Maybe he takes him to his planet. They figure something out, and now Grace is staying in that planet with him and all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, but he would their atmosphere is so dense.
Yeah.
And it's all ammonia.
Maybe he makes him a suit or something like he did for himself.
Here you go, stay here.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
I'm assuming that would be better than just Ryland staying in his ship for the rest of the time.
And then just dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or who knows? Maybe they find the solution. They take it back to Arid, give it to them. But then Rocky's so attached to Grace that they're like, all right, I'll stay in the ship with you and we'll just go explore space.
Aww.
Or something like that. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
I'm curious as to how this is going to...
Yeah.
I'm feeling might have a sad ending.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to go.
It's not what I expected from like the types of reviews that we got, and people are like, yeah, this was such an epic read. Is all it for it to have like a cute character like that and that be those reviews is like, okay, something else got to happen here, because there's no way. It's like, I would assume people would have reviewed this pretty good but said, yeah, it's a very cute space story or whatever, but I'm hearing it's like an epic read, like this book of the year and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very entertaining book, and I like it. I like it a lot.
I love this second set of chapters way more than the first.
But I just don't understand how everybody's like, yeah, this is 11 out of 5 or whatever, right? And it's like, well, okay, all right.
I mean, we still got a whole other half of the book.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I find it so adorable. He's like, you sleep alone and nobody watches you?
Yeah.
He's like, no, I observe.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what? He's like, yeah, I observe. He brings his own little thing that he's fixing to watch him sleep. Yeah. And then when Rocky needs sleep, he's like, now you observe.
Yeah.
You observe. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm good. He's like, no, you observe.
He's like, I only sleep good if you watch me sleep.
And he's like, all right, bro, that's fine. Yeah. I'll watch you sleep.
Which I wanted to look up. I guess I'll look it up after. But he did specify how long he sleeps for. He's like, because we don't. He's like, yeah, Iridians don't know how long we will sleep. And he's like, there's a minimum and a maximum.
Oh,
but
yeah.
They tell time by seconds. So it was like thousands of seconds, and I was going to look it up, and then I forgot. But I guess I'll look at that later.
I think I remember the maximum being
like, I think it's right here, actually. Hang on. Oh. No, just kidding. Those are other seconds. Yeah. I don't know. But, yeah. They tell time by seconds. Their year is 198 days.
I thought it was longer than Earth.
No, it's shorter. A day is like 46 days.
Oh,
like on Earth.
Their days are like 5 hours long. There we go. Their days are 5 hours long.
Yeah.
But I could have sworn that their years were longer by a couple of days. Not a couple. I think it was like quite a handful of them. Like 62 days longer or something.
Oh, here. Minimum is 12,265 seconds. 12,265 seconds. There's 60 seconds in every minute. So divide that by 60. 204 minutes. Divide that by 60. That's 3.4 hours. That's the minimum of their sleep. About 3 hours. And then their maximum is 42,928. Divide that by 60, 715. Divide that by 60. 11 hours. Mm-hmm. So anywhere in between 3 hours and 11 hours is how long Iridians sleep. But they don't sleep. They're actually paralyzed.
Like, it's crazy.
Because their blood is mercury. Yeah. Their blood is mercury, so it stays still, I guess, while they sleep. But they're paralyzed, and that's why they need somebody to watch them, because if something happens, they gotta like wake them up or whatever. So.
I don't even think they can wake them up because they're paralyzed. So difficult to wake them up.
So they have to like carry them.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm assuming that'll probably play a part at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no. And the worst part about this is that, well, and yeah, I think this is going to play a part because when Dr. Grace was bringing in Rocky,
he was heavy.
Yeah, and that was with the help of like no gravity.
And stuff. Yeah.
But when, like, imagine if like gravity were to affect, he's like, yeah, I'm like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
And Dr. Grace is like, dude, I'm like XYZ like kilograms. He's like, wow. He's like, no mass.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, like I'm made up mostly of water. And like, he's like, ooh.
Yeah. And then he told Ryland to go get rid of the bridge, like to detach the two ships.
Oh yeah.
Because he was like, yeah, I'm in a suit. I can't do anything. So you go do it. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll do it, jerk. And then Rocky's like, I don't understand what that last word means.
He's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that's also going to come back at some point, and Rocky's going to use the word for Rylan, and we're going to see that little connection.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Oh my! I'm really liking their interactions.
Yeah. The flashbacks are kind of throwing me off between their interactions.
Oh really?
Because not throwing me off, more so I don't want them there. Because it's like, just keep this going. Because then we get those flashbacks. I don't know. I think they're placed kind of weird, but at the same time, they're filling us in on some info. While I do think they're needed, I just don't know if in that area that some of them are is where I would have liked them. But
yeah, I think I've had that scenario now, or that issue now. Not a lot. I'm still mainly liking the flow of the book.
yeah.
But I think there have been like some points where I'm like, dang it, just like,
Yeah.
can we just have this in like a chapter? This could have been an email. Oh, that's what I was gonna mention. I think it was probably an interaction with Lock-In or someone where they're like, I really don't want to have this meeting. They're like, this could have been an email. I don't know if you're
yeah.
And I'm like, dude.
Something about was it during the animal testing part?
No.
He's like, can I leave now? Or something like that. And he's like, stop being an asshole. This is an important meeting or something like that.
No. That was towards the end. This was more earlier on in the set of chapters, like around, had to be in between 8 or 10. But it was some sort of meeting where, like, honestly, dude, this could have been like, you could have just sent this through an email.
Yeah.
And I think that was Strat who said that. Like, you could have just sent it through an email. I also thought it was badass had she just presented herself at the court. She's like, this is just a formality. Honestly, I didn't even have to show up.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't understand how many, I do and I don't, how people are going after her for plagiarism, but at the same time, it's like, dude, they're trying to save this planet.
Yeah.
And you're trying to stall by trying to get permissions for these patents and everything, like licenses.
Yeah.
Those take a long time. And that's the one thing we don't have, or don't know how much time we have.
Right.
It's like, why are you wasting your time and effort on this when we have like a whole planet to save, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, find that interesting.
Yeah.
But I like her little power move. She's like, honestly, I'm just here as a formality. Take this, read this. I'm out. I have other places to be. Yeah. Thank you. But yeah, I'm curious as to now what Rocky and Grace are gonna do, or Dr. Grace are gonna do.
Yeah, it sounds like the science room that he has a lot more stuff than what Rocky was even aware of. Mm-hmm. I think I forgot what it was that he has. It can like, I don't know, it can do something that astrophage. It's something that Rocky needed in his ship that he didn't have before. So it can calculate astrophage or something like that. I don't know. But
he would try and it would always fail.
Yeah. But now Grace has it. So now he can take what he's learned and Rocky learned and put it together and stuff like that. So I think it's going to start off with them already like halfway into a problem or whatever, and like a math problem or whatever, and just start from there. And I think they're going to figure it out pretty quickly, and then the rest of the thing is going to be like, how are they going to do it and all that kind of stuff. So
it's like, how are you even going to get close to the sun to even figure that shit out?
Yeah.
And just, I wonder if it's something going to be, it's not even going to be complex. It's just something so simple. Like the simple answer, and it's just right in our faces, and we have no idea what it is. Like, it's going to be right in our faces once we find out. We're like, oh, are you serious? This was it all along?
Yeah.
But I'm curious as to how it's going to show that Tau Ceti has been able to live with the astrophage compared to the others that don't, you know?
I'm assuming it'll have to do with, like maybe radiation too.
Oh.
Something like that. And that's why it's killing the sun. Because obviously we get radiation from the sun.
Yes.
And maybe that's why it's dying, because the astrophage is taking on all that radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that one doesn't give off radiation or something like that. I don't know. I mean, so far that's what we know about astrophage.
Yeah.
It takes on radiation.
Yeah.
Right?
It takes
That's
on
why
radiation.
it saved Rocky, because everyone else was exposed to radiation and they died. But astrophage kind of acts as a shield for radiation.
Mm-hmm.
So with the sun being all radiation, that's why astrophage is kind of clinging on to it. It's taking all that in. But without the radiation, the sun is obviously dying. So I'm assuming that's kind of where it could go. But, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then with now they're really gonna have to study Tau Ceti, or the son of Tau Ceti, to see how it, you know, it essentially is protecting itself from astrophage, or how they're both kind of just meet in the middle. We'll really just see. It's really strange, but I'm excited to see more Rocky interactions.
Same. He's very much Wall-E vibe.
Yeah, it truly is giving Wall-E vibes.
Yeah.
Just a more talkative Wall-E vibe.
Yeah. For the recap, I know I said we get it from Reddit, but we did realize didn't really mention the user that is putting this out there. No, like I said, this was 3 years ago that this was put out there, but just in case, this is on the book club Reddit, and it's user yrod49, who is putting this, has a scheduled in front of it. So it looks like they were scheduling maybe weekly sets of chapters.
Mm-hmm.
I guess posting it on that book club Reddit, and other people can discuss as that went on. But that user put out, confirmed this whole book on there. But did split into different parts as we do. I think they're doing 4 chapters.
4 chapters at a time.
At a time, I think. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there, kind of like a little shout out to that user for putting that out there. But there is also other summaries on there, so maybe that's where we'll find some more for other books. But
yeah, it can get kind of tedious going through some of these books.
Yeah.
It just takes a long time.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this next set of chapters. What chapters are we reading for next week?
Next week is 16 through 23.
Oof.
16 through 23. And then after that, I think we have, 24 to the end. 24 to 30.
Jeez, man.
Yeah. So I guess that's what, 12 chapters left?
Yeah.
Right? 16 to 30. That's like 14. Yeah. 14 chapters? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe this next set is I don't think it's 30. You said 23, no?
What?
You said, sorry. You meant like overall. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, 14. I think this next set is another bigger one, just like this one.
Yeah.
Just because I always like to leave the last bit fairly small, since we do have to do the overall Brews review and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, next week. So 16 through 23.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. I think it has some theories. Well, I mean, obviously, aside from they're gonna have to discuss like astrophage and anything, I have a feeling they might run into a problem, but maybe with each other. I think.
Why with each other?
I mean, they're two different people. They're two different species and people just in that ship now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming, like any other roommate, they're gonna run into a problem. Um, but I mean, for the most part, think they're gonna just figure it out. For the most part,
Yeah. I don't have any theories in that sense. I don't know. I don't really have any theories as to what's going to happen because it could. At this point, the book has surprised me with everything that's put in there. Just because I
Yeah.
had this whole different expectation of it.
mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of just vibing with it right now.
You here for the vibes.
Yeah.
Here for the
I don't
ride.
really have theories just because I can't. It hasn't really given me enough to kind of theorize. So.
Okay.
Well, yeah, excited for those next set of chapters. That'll be next week, and that is 16 through 23.
Yes.
Again, like we said. Yeah.
And then I'll also announce what the book for September is gonna be.
Yeah.
So excited about that.
All right. I guess that wraps this one up. And so I guess we'll see you guys next week for chapters 16 through 23.
See ya.
Bye.